Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with another weekly episode. This is episode 288. I got it right. Guys, what in the Mercury Retrograde happened to me last week? I told you when Mercury Retrograde happens is like the only oopsies I seem to have on this podcast, but especially a strong one that's really interacting with my astrology. So first, last week after I got done recording the podcast episode about the lunar eclipse, I go to Podbean, which is what my hosting site is, and I upload it, and I say, the Neptune-Saturn episode says it's draft. It didn't post? That's confusing. And I said, wait a second. Oh my God, it never posted. And that was supposed to post right before I left for New Orleans. I don't always go and listen to my episodes afterwards, especially this far into it. I've been doing them. So I just didn't notice that it didn't post and no one let me know. And it was funny because I was putting it out there on social media, my Cosmic Colleen social media. And I was like, check out this episode. And I said, oh God, what in the Mercury retrograde is that? And it actually happened the day that Mercury's shadow began, So then, of course, I posted it after I had posted the episode that was supposed to be last week, and then that episode got bumped up. So they're a little out of order as well. If you're wondering, some of you already had caught that, but the Neptune-Saturn was supposed to be about 3 weeks ago, and then last week's was supposed to be the next one in order. So I am sorry about that Mercury retrograde slip up. And this lunar eclipse, I'm telling you, that we just had took me out, and I know I'm not alone with my mutable placements. Like I said, last week's astrology was very interactive, you could say, with my astrology, and it was a very intense week. And when Mercury retrograde was directly conjunct the sun last Friday, I think it was last Friday, yeah, I thought I was going to lose my mind. I was like, I can't take much more insanity, and it was pure insanity on Friday through so many things in my life. And all my clients' lives were kind of panicked. It was like, and so it was just, and that was the problem. It actually was a good distraction when my clients come in and I was talking about their lives. But there was just so much intense energy. And in my mind, Friday night, I was like, I am literally going to lose my shit right now. And you guys know I can keep my shit together. This happens about once a year, but I went insane. And like a true Gemini notion, though, the next day, that night, I was still living, I was still waking up, and I still feel I still feel sort of off. I'm not going to lie. My life is a little hectic right now. Like I'd shared in previous episodes, I have a lot of things I have to figure out suddenly for my mother. There's just so many things happening, and with Mercury in Pisces, and it's squaring my Mercury, and all this stuff happening, I just feel all over the place. I feel exactly the predictions I gave on these last 3 episodes. So this is going to be a quick episode because, like I've said for my mutables, I've been saying for 6 months, we are actually finally getting into the end of a lot of intense energy. So let's talk about the astrology of this week and next week. First off, we are not done with this Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde does not station direct until next Friday, the 20th. We still have Mercury retrograde conjuncting Pisces. Mercury retrograde conjuncting Mars in the sign of Pisces on Sunday the 15th, 4:07 a.m. So that's going to be a pretty intense conjunction. Then Mercury retrograde conjuncts the North Node at 1:08 p.m. And then we have the new moon in Pisces on Wednesday the 18th at 9:23 p.m. And then on the 20th, Mercury stations direct. So next weekend, we should all be getting a nice reprieve, feeling pretty good. But let's go back over this Mercury retrograde cycle. Again, this week, next week, this energy is most potent for my mutable placements, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. So this Mercury retrograde, first off, Mercury stationed retrograde on February the 26th. This shadow period began on February 11th, the day I recorded that Saturn-Neptune episode. It never posted, and I never noticed it. And I feel like this, again, because it was very interactive with my astrology, others with like fixed placements, you guys might not be feeling it so much, but mutable placements are. I feel like this Mercury retrograde has been happening since January 1st, honestly. I'm like, wow, it really even hasn't been that long. So this retrograde started off with a conjunction to Venus in Pisces, where she works at her best. So go back to 3 episodes ago, okay? Here, I don't even remember what it's titled. Don't ask me the proper number because, I won't be able to tell you guys. I can barely keep this episode number together. Welcome to my mind and my ADHD Gemini mind. So we began it with a big conjunction to Venus and Pisces. And we're ending this retrograde, Mercury retrograde, with a conjunction to Mars. So we started it out, I like to say, with awareness that brought a reevaluation, a revisiting, a restructuring. With retrograde, we use the word R-E, cycling back through around Venus-ruled things. So that was our love, our self-confidence, our friendships, some family members, our beauty, our creative endeavors, the things we love and like. We maybe have this awareness that we maybe felt confused, not as happy, all over the place. But at the beginning, it felt a little bit better, and then it led to some confusing things that led to awareness. So this awareness highlighted through Mercury retrograde, which may have brought, like I said, miscommunication, creative blocks, too much empathy that it clogs your vision, no boundaries, or it has you stopping, placing boundaries where you need to, and not sure where to place your feelings, your mind, which seems to not always match. Your mind's just not matching up with your feelings at this moment. And there's still this kind of shift, I know, for especially my Virgo Gemini placements. I shared this on a previous episode. There was a lot more you guys were forced to feel. Mercury placements do best at they're feeling, they're taking things in, but they're internalizing it in order to keep persevering through life. Like you guys, Mercury placements are best at distraction from things. So I feel like Gemini and Virgo, this was a time there you really had to reflect on your emotions, and you maybe not were sure what you were feeling, but you were definitely feeling something. Where I feel like this was a little bit better for Pisces Sagittarius placements, are a little bit easier. Like you guys are finally going back and doing mindset things or changing and shifting your life to better suit your emotions, to make you more emotionally grounded, more mentally grounded. Now, we are ending this Mercury retrograde with a conjunction to Mars. We are taking action with those thoughts. We are taking action with the miscommunication that ended up solving the original communication issue from the beginning of this retrograde, or probably began around the shadow period. We should be feeling less creatively blocked and ready with a sense of strong creative energy and knowing where to direct that. Taking action, we're around the blocks and we no longer see them as blocks. That's what I'm sort of loving. We had the beginning initial awareness, then we went through and we're still in this sort of period of awareness, but we should be becoming more and more aware. And then with this conjunction to Mars, we are taking action around the issues that had surfaced, or the awareness or the reflection that had surfaced over these last few weeks. And coming this weekend, we're going to be feeling much, much better. If the beginning of this retrograde brought the confusion, the lack of understanding, this is a time when the energy is now in forward motion, and you know what needs to be said, you know what needs to be done. Also to note, Venus is now in the sign of Aries, where she does not work at her best. So Mercury will not be connecting with her again in the sign of Pisces when Mercury retraces its retrograde steps and, Mercury moves forward then. So what Mercury retrograde, it's going to be over, but it will not connect with Venus again. So Venus is gone. Mercury will connect with Venus again in, I'm not sure, I have to see what sign. I don't think it's going to be Aries. I think it might be Taurus, but I have to see. Mercury will catch up to Venus, but I got to check when. The connection with the nodes will bring a new energy. It's going to be connecting with the North Node. That is good. The new energy, and that energy may be unsure of at first, but when Mercury goes direct next weekend with the nodes, in a few weeks you're going to be like, yeah, I'm here for this energy, or no, I'm not going anywhere with energy and I'm dropping this energy. Again, I feel like these last 3 months in Sag season, I've been like, this is for my mutable placements. Things are finally getting better, but we still had some kinks to iron out with Saturn and Pisces at the beginning of 2026. And I now feel as though my mutable placements, after this week, this is a true moving forward. This is a true ending cycle over these last 3 years. Like I said in a previous episode, thank God Saturn is no longer in the sign of Pisces, will not be returning to Pisces for 30 years. That is a long time. So that alone was closing cycles around family karma, responsibilities that you had to actually force yourself to do. You had to grow up. There was this childlike energy there that was like, I don't want to do it, so I'm forced into this responsibility. And it's a little bit what Aries is going to be feeling now that Saturn is there. And so you persevered through that responsibility, which gains more awareness, which gains the growth that you just need. And with the nodes there and the eclipses there, there's been these shifting changes. And like I said, with this last eclipse, these next two eclipses in the future for these two signs are really going to be like, okay, I'm in this new chapter. So for you guys, we really are progressing into a new chapter that's going to feel quite quickly coming on strong after next week. And the solutions and the new energy for the new chapter you guys have just entered is going to be playing out over the next two eclipses, or the last two eclipses that happened through Virgo and Pisces. So congratulations, everyone. We have made it. This is a new moon in Pisces. Even though we're still in the eclipses, it is not with the eclipse, but it will conjunct there. So you are free. But the biggest thing is you have to allow yourself to be free. You have to not regret. Sometimes in that Pisces energy, there can be these regrets or look back or what if I didn't do this or what if I did do that. You need to believe that you did everything just the way you're supposed to do for the evolution of your mind, body, and soul. We don't come into this life perfect. We are not meant to come into this life perfect. It's very messy. And our mind is messy and confusing and always ever changing. So, the point of my podcast is hopefully to bring a little awareness every week to all of you. That's how I like to use the astrology, is to bring awareness and love. So just remember all the things I said. Have a happy, happy new moon. I am leaving for the Bahamas tomorrow morning, so I won't be back with another episode for another week, but this is all the astrology of next week. Again, my mutable placements, you guys are going to be feeling it the strongest, and we are finally closing out chapters and closing out awareness. Things will make much more sense, and the path will be much clearer starting next weekend. I love you all. Have a fabulous week. Thank you again for riding it out with me as my ups and my downs as I'm living life and going through things. And I hope that everyone, follow me on social media, because after I release these episodes, and sometimes maybe you don't listen to the episode, but you want to hear what's going on, I try to release weekly 1-minute videos of the astrology of the week as well. So Cosmic Colleen, 1C in the middle. Thank you guys. The best way to support this podcast is to rate, review, send it to a friend. So many of you guys do that, and I am forever grateful. I love you all, and goodbye.